Hi, I'm Dr. Doug Weiss, and today's topic is 7 types of erectile dysfunction. Millions of men are suffering from erectile dysfunction. What's interesting to me is even 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds are now entering into this issue. Why are millions of men suffering, feeling insecure, not capable in the bedroom? What is going on in the world that we're not talking about? Well, that's what I want to talk about. You heard about the physical parts, but there's so much more to erectile dysfunction, and you might be needing a little bit more information so that you can be successful with your partner. We want you to have the best sex life possible, and so you need to stay tuned and watch this. Welcome to today's topic on 7 types of erectile dysfunction. Now, this is a huge topic, and we're going to approach it from many different angles than just the physical part. You've heard a lot about that, you've read your magazine articles, but we're going to go into a totally different areas of this. So I'm going to cover 7 specific different types of erectile dysfunction. So let's start with number 1. The first reason why you might not be having success are experiencing erectile dysfunction. Maybe not all the time. Maybe this is periodic for you. But I want to cover this because it's really important. In my book, Upgrade Your Sex Life, I talk about the 5 different sexual expressions. You and your partner will most likely have different sexual expressions. You're loving each other the way that you want to be loved, not the way the other person was designed to be loved. And so you're missing each other. Now, this regularly missing each other, you both can feel that you're not getting your needs met and that you're maybe getting frustrated or having negative experiences, not feeling like you're doing it right. This negative reinforcement schedule can lead you to have performance issues. Now, the solution for this one's relatively easy. Learn exactly her sexual expression, all the way from how to initiate towards her, what to say during sex, what to say after sex, exactly the way she wants to hear it. Now, I've worked with thousands of couples. Most people don't know this stuff. And so you can create positive sexual encounters to increase desire. Plus, it'll make her crazy inside to want to hear what you have to say during sex. And that positive reinforcement, feeling like you're being successful, that can help you feel more confident. And emotions are a huge part of erectile dysfunction. If you feel anxious or concerned or that you're not competent, then you're going to have those feelings going into sex. But imagine feeling like, hey, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm saying to her. I know it's going to make her light up. You're going to feel more confident, and that's going to help you in this journey of moving forward from erectile dysfunction. Now, number 2, object reinforcement. This form of ED is absolutely the most sneaky. You don't see this one coming. You're in your bedroom, your dorm room, and you're watching porn and you're masturbating, and these beautiful one-dimensional objects are just that, sex objects. They're not real. They have no needs. They do whatever you say. They never ask you for anything. You don't have to emotionally support them, financially support them, take out the garbage, hear any criticism. They don't have opinions. They have no needs other than to serve you sexually. And then they go away. Now, I have literally done thousands of masturbation histories. I work with people who struggle with sexual addiction and issues like that. So probably in the world, I've done more masturbation histories than probably anybody. And what happens is a lot of guys get bonded and connected to the sex object world, the fantasy world. And they bond to these objects even during a sexual encounter. They oftentimes go to fantasy world to ejaculate. So you're being sexual with your partner or your wife, and what happens is you can't get there unless you go to this other place. You are object connected. okay? Your partner's talking and asking for their needs and telling you they don't like something about you, and it pierces the fantasy state of this woman who just worships you, okay? You can also have a secret porn addiction, making relational sex a real challenge for you, because part of your sexuality, and sometimes a majority of your sexuality, is in the fantasy world. All you gotta do is figure out, how many times am I fantasizing and masturbating? How many times am I fantasizing during sex with my spouse? That's your object sex number. And then how many times are you looking in her eyes and connecting to her and really being present with her? That's your relational sex. And if those numbers are really skewed, that's gonna hurt you. So I'm gonna give you a tip right now. It's out of the book, Upgrade Your Sex Life. So try this. And I have never had a woman say that this wasn't powerful for her, okay? Now, it might take a few times for her to feel comfortable, especially if you've been disconnected. She's gonna be disconnected, so it might take a while for you guys to reconnect. But you wanna keep your eyes open during sex. Look right into her eyes. Have some kind of light on so that you can see her and attach to her soul, her spirit, her body, her scent, her eyes. And then number 3, nurturing conversation. I'm not talking about dirty talk. Talk to her in a nurturing, loving way. Now try this. Practice being present with your partner. Now, if you do have a sex addiction, go to sexaddict, SEXADDICT.com, and start working on this, okay? You won't get better relationally, sexually, if you have a porn or sex addiction. I've worked with over 5,000 men over 35 years, and they all say that relational sex is much better than the object sex with pornography. So if this is your issue, and it will affect your erectile dysfunction, okay? I've seen many men who felt they couldn't perform in bed because of their sexual addiction, and after they start getting recovery and getting emotionally connected to their spouse, they were able to be solid in the bedroom. And you deserve that, but you might be your own problem, and you can prevent that by moving forward into a recovery process. And go to that website. There's lots of materials. There's more than enough. You can get counseling and help, or do intensives, whatever you want to do to really propel yourself into sexual maturity. Now, number 3 is emotional immaturity. Now, in our culture, we do not teach feelings. We don't process feelings, especially as men. We don't communicate feelings, all right? Now, in a committed long-term marriage or relationship, you need to be able to share your feelings, but this can overwhelm you, because what you're in is a relationship that requires emotional connectivity and maturity, and because of your lack of training, and that's all it is a lack of training, you can't show up. And that frustrates the marriage, it frustrates you sexually, okay? If you get hurt or disappointed, you could go into some kind of emotional binge with that and get emotionally constipated, not talk, be silent, be angry, okay? Now, that takes a lot of energy to do all that, and if you're doing that, it can drain your energy for sex, okay? Sex takes emotional, spiritual, and physical energy, and if your emotional energy is being spent because of the immaturity and constipation and blowing up and not being able to process that, you're gonna be stuck. Now, if you haven't processed the hurt, the rages, being disappointed with your partner, you might go limp. Doing this repeatedly can create a pattern and an expectation of failure because you're mad at her, you're frustrated with her, and so you don't show up. Now, I highly recommend the book Emotional Fitness, okay? I've helped many men who were emotionally, let's say, limited or challenged, become really emotionally skilled. It is a discipline. You can learn it pretty quickly. It takes about 60 days, and you can go from wherever you are to better than your spouse at sharing, identifying, communicating your feelings. Well, if you're less constipated, you're gonna be better in the relationship, you're gonna feel better, and you won't be bringing that emotional drain to your sexuality and to your penis. You don't want that to happen. Now, even if you just practice sharing 2 feelings a day with your partner, you can grow a skill here. Just say, hey, let's do 2 feelings a day. Let me tell you something I'm feeling. Let me hear what you're feeling, and it can help you in the relationship and make you much better in the bedroom. Number 4, intimacy anorexia. Intimacy anorexia is the active withholding of spiritual, emotional, and sexual intimacy from your spouse. Now, This can definitely cause ED issues, because if you're withholding spiritually and emotionally, you're not connected in a relationship, when you go to the bedroom, you're going to have a lack of connection, and you might go limp. And you might actually do this on purpose because you're creating distance, which makes no sense, but it does happen a lot. If you aren't familiar with the term intimacy anorexia, go to Google or anywhere, type it in. Intimacyanorexia.com can help you. But let me give you the characteristics. Now, I want to share these with you because you might have this, but also your spouse might have this. So be thinking about what's going on, because if you're with a woman who's withholding intimacy from you, not present during sex, that's going to be negative reinforcing to you as well. And that may not be very exciting, and that might cause you to have some reaction. So here's quickly the characteristic. And again, I strongly recommend, if this hits a button for you, get on the internet and find out more information. There's a lot of information out there for you. And if you're a man who's living with this, you're married and alone, you feel disconnected, alone, you're begging to have sex or connection, you definitely want to get some information on married and alone. Now here's the characteristics. Busy. Your spouse is so busy, or if it's you as the intimacy anorexic, you're so busy that you have no time for them. Blame. You blame them for all the problems in the relationship. The intimacy anorexic withholds love, especially the way you want to be loved. They withhold praise. They withhold spiritually, even if they're spiritual outside of the marriage. They withhold sex, or they might have sex, but they're disconnected. They're not looking at you. You don't know if they're there. It just feels like sex. You don't feel like you've been made love to in years. That's an issue. Unable or unwilling to share their feelings with you. Using anger or silence as a way to control in the relationship. Having ongoing or ungrounded criticism of you. Sometimes they control or shame around money issues, but often if you're married to someone like this, you feel like a roommate. Now, as an intimacy anorexic, you're avoiding intimacy, not sex. You might go limp if intimacy is required to be sexual. This can be healed, and you can have a vibrant sex life if intimacy anorexia is healed. And if your spouse is an IA, this can also be an issue, you trying to connect to someone who doesn't want to connect during sex. So if this rings a bell with you, this can be a hidden reason why you're experiencing the limitations you are sexually. And this can be healed. This can be something you can work on. I've had thousands of couples who have healed from intimacy anorexia and began to have a vibrant sexual life even early in recovery. So if this is you, intimacyanorexia.com has lots of resources for you. And I'm giving you some of these resources because I want you to go get the help you need, okay? Number 5, sexual abuse. As a survivor and thriver of sexual abuse, and have helped thousands of sexual abuse survivors heal from this trauma, this is a real issue. Sexual abuse can be same gender, it can be opposite gender. Many guys thought they got lucky when they were 14 or 15 with a 20-year-old. You actually got sexually abused. The sexual trauma overwhelms and can cause you to disconnect in life, but also during sex. Again, you can feel like sex is about object and you don't know how to get out of that object connection or avoidance sexually. You learn sex in trauma, and therefore sex and being intimate was not taught to you at your initial sexual development. Now, it can be learned, but during the trauma, your body was overwhelmed, so it shut down sexually and disconnected. And so there's a great book called Sex, Men, and God. It's got lots of chapters. It's got a chapter on dealing with sexual trauma. You can heal from sexual trauma. I've helped thousands heal from that. You can have an incredible sex life again. Here, you might want to get counseling as well. Anyone, if you call our office at 719-278-3708, they can help you with that. We deal with sexual abuse every day in our office. Now, if you've never told anyone, this is super important. You're going to need to tell somebody. If you've had sexual abuse in your past, and about 15% of men have, you have to talk. So go to a counselor or a priest or a rabbi or a spiritual leader or someone that you trust that can keep your information confidential. And this is definitely one time you might want to just pay a counselor and just go say, I got to tell somebody this. And they can take you from there and find out how to help you, because this can notch you up sexually, and that can also cause you to go limp. And we don't want you to stay in that position. If this is the issue, you can heal, re-engage, learn how to be present during sex, and have a great sex life. Number 6, guilt. Nothing will shut you down faster than guilt. If you have a religious or spiritual background, this totally heightens the whole issue of guilt, right? Okay? If you're in a committed relationship or a marriage and you have a secret porn issue or other romantic interests on Facebook or all these other ways of social media or at work, or if you're in a sexual relationship, whether with a coworker or someone you just met or an online hookups or whatever you're doing, if you're being unfaithful when you said you would be faithful, you're going to have guilt. And if you have a background of understanding that that's wrong, you're going to have more guilt. Now, you can be reminded of these experiences of sex while having sex with your spouse. And this can cause a lot of emotion and overwhelm you. This feeling of guilt can shut you down sexually, and you can go limp and you can have erectile dysfunction. And this can happen again and again where you avoid having sex because when you're having sex with your spouse, you're thinking about the prostitute or the person or maybe even a man that you hooked up with, and something's going on with you and you have this torn feeling and it's overwhelming. Now this will probably continue until you stop the secret behaviors, or if you get honest about the behaviors. You might want to talk to a counselor, again, if you're in this situation. Get some professional care about this. If this is part of your life and you're experiencing this, you really want to be free from guilt. Talk to somebody, get some guidance so that you, again, if you're going to choose to stay in your marriage, and sometimes the affair might have happened 10 or 15 years ago, it might have been a one-night stand when you were drunk. It doesn't matter, it'll still show up in images in your mind and in your heart. And you want to be really clear when you're having sex with your spouse, and that can help you if you get well from the situation. Number 7, well, this one, the physical. This is the one you read about, heard about, know about. If you've done any research on erectile dysfunction, you know that it can be low testosterone. Okay, if you got a lot of gut weight, you need to get your testosterone checked no matter how old you are. High blood pressure can be a part of this. Diabetes, obesity, high cholesterol, substance abuse, okay? And it goes on. There are many physical issues that relate to erectile dysfunction. For these issues, go see a doctor, find out what can be causing or contributing to your erectile dysfunction. There are many natural options as well as medical options to increase blood flow because the veins in your penis are the very small veins. The only veins that are smaller are the ones in your eyes, okay? So regardless of the cause, this issue doesn't only affect you, it also affects your spouse or your partner. If they start making about them not being enough, not being attractive, this can compound the whole problem inside your relationship. You being proactive to resolve this issue and still giving her orgasms on a regular basis, regardless of your issue, can send the message that you care about them. Whatever you do, don't deny this issue. Don't isolate or don't do nothing. Take the next step and step after that to help resolve this issue for both of you. You deserve a great sex life. And if we can help you, give us a call or an email, 719-278-3708, or you can just send an email, heart@xc.org. We would love to hear from you, and if we can be of help, we want you to be successful in the bedroom. If this topic has been helpful for you, I'm so glad. We have hundreds of videos that can help you in your life, your marriage, relationships. But please subscribe to our channel. It'll let you know when new stuff comes out every week. And also, if you have a question, because I know this is a big topic, just put it in there. I'll respond to you as soon as possible. So until we see you again, have an awesome day.